Hello everybody and welcome to the Showcast, a series of candid conversations from the world of film, brought to you by The Film Verdict and hosted by yours truly, Matt Micucci. Tonight we present a special recording of a panel discussion from the 2025 Dublin International Film Festival that was hosted by one of Ireland's leading commercial production companies, Antidote. Titled Parallel Frames, Connecting the Dots Between Ads and Film, the event explored the intersection of advertising and filmmaking, and this panel focused on the 20-year parallel journey of Venom, a company renowned for its high-quality documentaries, and Antidote, known for producing high-end commercials. I had the privilege of moderating the discussion, and the panel featured director Ken Wardrop and producer Andrew Freedman, co-founders of both Antidote and Venom, along with Jessie Hayden, producer and development coordinator at Venom, and Paula Stewart, producer at Antidote. And we were also joined by director Brendan Canty, whose film Christy won the Grand Prix in the youth-focused Generation 14+ section of the 2025 Berlinale, and director animator Johnny Kelly, whose upcoming animated short Retirement Plan will premiere at South by Southwest in just a few weeks. And they shared their experiences of working with Antidote and navigating the space between advertising and film. So fire up an Audiotini and listen to the audio waves as they fly through the air. This is the Showcast. Why don't we break the ice by just talking a little bit about Ken and Andrew? How you guys first met? Because you've been working together for a long time. When did you realize that you'd be partners in crime?
Yeah, hi everyone. First of all, thanks a million for coming. Really appreciate it, especially giving up lunchtime and coming today, so appreciate that. Yeah, we met in film school, myself and Ken. I went to Dunleary and initially was interested in editing. And as we kind of went through the course, I ended up finding myself doing more and more production. And through that process, I think we made about 30 short films. The course was great. It was all about go out there and do things. That was kind of the whole basis of it. And I think out of those 30 films, about 6 of them were with Ken. And
this is where you'll realise Andrew is an exaggerator.
All right. It was about 30.
I don't think it was 30.
Okay.
Maybe closer to 20.
Anyway, I would say the 6 films I made with Ken were the best films. And we went on after college to really kind of get those films out into the world, when, you know, playing in Sundance and having a really good run with short films. And it felt like that was a great time to set up a company.
And we've been bickering ever since.
Exactly. Well, so what came first, Venom or Antidote?
Well, we got that little bit confused because being students, we wanted to be, I suppose, a bit bold coming out of college. So we called ourselves Venom and then found Antidote. But I think in hindsight, we got it mixed up. Maybe Antidote should have been the film and Venom should have been the advertising company. But our history has been very checkered. So we hit the ground running in a garage in Ranelagh, where my first job anyway was copying DVDs and setting my alarm. I remember every 7 minutes because the DVD copier could only do 7 at a time. And we had like taken our first order and it was like 2,000. And so our first job was copying DVDs. But we've been on a bit of a journey since then.
In general, to kind of sum it up, we earn money in ads and then we lose it again in film. It's kind of a perfect round circle, you know?
Basically, he earns the money and I spend it.
You often hear about garage rock. You don't hear about garage filmmaking, but there we go. We have an example of that.
Actually, we hadn't got a toilet because I was just thinking this the other day. We had to go up to Butler's Cafe. Well, then it was...
Sounds brilliant. Just before we get into, you know, the nitty gritty of documentary production and advertising film production, what are some general misconceptions that you feel there are regarding advertising and making films for advertising? Because, you know, we're talking about films, I think.
I think like you've heard it a little bit in the first panel, but I think like you have to kind of look at commercials as an art form in their own right. And I think we have to really believe in that format because actually it's an amazing chance to try and tell a story, which you're doing in long form as well, but you're doing it in a really tight space. And that makes it even more challenging to some degree. So I think having belief in the format is something we really do. And when we look back on a year of work, we look at the ads we've made in the same context as the films we've made. And hopefully when we look back at them all, we're really proud of what we've done, But ultimately, you're dealing with emotions, in whether it be in 30 seconds or whether it be in a big 90-minute film. You're dealing with the ups and downs of emotions. And I think that's the kind of beauty of it, because you can affect people, whether it be through a really clever ad or whether it be through a really emotive ad or whether it be through a really important documentary, highlighting a topic. I think it is a privilege to make things, and it's a responsibility too. And, Emmett and the panel before spoke about the challenges of how you raise money to make a film. And it's not something you just click your fingers with and get. It's something you have to earn. And I think that's good, because there's too many films in the world. And actually, if you're going to make a film, let's make a good one. On a commercial, the responsibility you feel, if you care, which we really do, is huge. You go to bed at night really worrying about, are you going to get everything as good as you can? And have you explained the story to all the different stakeholders and all the different people, all of whom are kind of really relying on success? So both worlds are actually remarkably similar in a way. They just happen, they unfold in slightly different ways.
Right, yeah.
And actually from a director's perspective, and I've been very fortunate to be asked to make ads that are documentary in their style and genre. And I was just thinking, when you said privilege, I've met so many wonderful, beautiful people through the film world, but I also look back on some of the stories I've told through commercials, and they have been the most beautiful, harrowing, and diverse gang of people that have remained friends with me, and their stories have touched me in a similar way. So I think that's been a real privilege, that I've been able to highlight them in that way. And so many of them that has been a little bit of a moment for them as well, as characters, as human beings, to be part of something that has a place in the world, and their stories can be shared. I mean, as I say, I'm a documentary filmmaker, so I've been lucky in that sense that the stories that I've been asked to do have been in that space.
Earlier we spoke about the journey of Antidote and Venom. I want to find out about the journeys within these rounds from a different perspective. And that's why it's great that we have Paula and Jessie here. Paula, you work with Antidote.
Yes.
Obviously, that's an ad that focuses on ads. And it was interesting because we spoke a few days ago, and you kind of started in film. Right? Is that correct?
Yeah. So I started out in film, and then
Then you kind of specifically said,
yeah.
I want to work in ads.
I started in film before I moved to Antidote, and I was actually in the middle of reshoots on a film when Andrew called me to offer me the job, and it was my birthday as well, so that was a good day. But when I started in Antidote, I did work across Antidote and Venom at the time, and it kind of worked well, because if there was quiet times in Antidote, there might be something in Venom that you jump onto. I worked with Brendan Canty, who we rep in Antidote as a commercial director, on the short film Christy, and he's obviously gone on now to win the Grand Prix at Berlin with the feature of that. So I did kind of bridge both, but then Antidote really started to get very busy, and I think it was kind of actually around that time when I was doing both. I was doing Christy, and we were doing an ad with Johnny Kelly at the time, and I remember just thinking around then that I actually really love doing ads, and that's what I want to focus on, and I've kind of just stayed on ads ever since.
What was it that you loved about doing ads?
I think it's what everyone was talking about in the first panel. It's really tight turnaround. It's high pressure. I just really like that. I like the challenge, the variety. You work with so many different directors, different agencies, different clients, different types of ads. It could be one you're doing with stunts, one you're doing that's a set build in a studio. So there's a lot of variety, and I kind of like that. And I suppose then if you have one that's really stressful, you can kind of tell yourself, in a month, this can just leave my brain forever. And, you can just kind of, so I kind of like that aspect as well.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. So it's just, the diversity of it, the tighter schedules and everything. You just like that. It's a great challenge for you.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, interestingly though, Jessie.
I'm the opposite.
The opposite, right?
Yeah.
So you started in ads, right?
Yeah, so I started with Paul, who I assume is here somewhere from the last panel. Straight out of college, that was my first job as a PA, and I was a deer in headlights. So fair play to Paul for being nice to me. it was an amazing crash course because with commercials, the turnaround is just so fast that like as a 21-year-old, I literally over the course of my time there, I got exposure to the entire like start, middle and end from when a commercial is commissioned. I don't know what the term is, commissioned. And I thought that was great. I loved it. But then I left and I moved into TV production for quite a while. And I worked in like factual television where I was casting and things like that. I always wanted to work in documentary, and it's what I majored in college. So it really was a passion from when I was young. And I loved the idea of long form because producing in films, you're really part of the entire thing from the conception, from the idea, from the director, right through to being in a cinema where you can watch people watch it and like feel the audience. So I really wanted to be part of like the financing and every part of it. Whereas with commercials, from the producing route, I guess, in this side of it, you're brought in once that idea is there. I don't know if that's fair to say, sorry. But that's what I liked about the idea of going to feature.
I spoke about misconceptions, but what are the similarities? What is needed for a project to work in both realms?
I honestly, like, we work with some of the best directors in the world, like from all over the world, and they all come and work in our little market here in Ireland, all because like we have something fairly unique here. You know, we've got like a very small group of agencies, a real belief in the work we're doing. And a lot of the time, agencies and creatives really believe in and want to back a director, you know, so that's actually incredibly rare. So what we have here is visionary. We have access to visionary talent, which is what makes a great film, but it's also what makes a great ad, you know, and I think, yeah, knowing your format, knowing how you can get that emotion across is the real skill. You know?
So at the end of the day, it's about talent as well.
Yeah.
So before we start talking about that a little more, we have another show reel that will actually be focusing on Antidote's work. So if you guys want to play that, that'd be
a little old.
You're lacking something.
A little old, but still. Yeah, so that really, you know, goes to show the diversity of the projects. We saw so many different styles of filmmaking there.
I think I actually think that's like one of the great things about commercials is we spoke earlier about like when you start a project, it will be over in a few weeks' time. But the variety you get from every director and the passion they bring. And like a lot of the time, our job is to try and protect that passion and also to work and communicate to all the different people in a way where they can try and just let that loose and let it kind of continue, you know? So that's the real excitement of commercials, you know?
And I actually just want to explain to everybody that like we have two teams basically here. I work alongside Jessie in film and Andrew works alongside Paula in commercials. We work in two offices and the dynamics are quite interesting because, you know, on the Antidote office, there's a whiteboard where there will be jobs ever changing, going up on a weekly basis and down on a weekly basis, where we have two jobs up there like for 3 years on our white. And it's really interesting because every day we interact and we cross over. And like next week, I'm going to help on a casting of a commercial that's documentary based in Antidote because I can draw down on my experiences in that to really help the guys. And you guys often help us, especially when we're looking for crew or we need to do deals. I mean, that's a fascinating crossover. Like we can leverage on Antidote because you guys keep crew busy where they hardly know who we are because we only call once every 3 years. So we can say, oh, we're friends of Antidote. They're downstairs. Any chance you throw in that, those few lenses for free or whatever. That never happens, but.
So the two companies complement each other.
Yeah. I mean, because it is unusual to have two very different, especially because it's documentary and amongst the ad space. So it can be, we're always, myself and Jessie are always noting that we are the Zen ones.
Is that true now? Would you agree?
We also had a very competitive game of Jenga last Christmas where it was myself and Ken against Andrew and Paula. And for the record, the Zen won because we stayed nice and calm and these guys got maybe too into it.
Next time, Connect 4.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we talked about, I brought up talent, and I would like to know, because obviously collaboration has got to be one of the key ingredients, whether, you know, in the work that Venom does or Antidote does. So I'd like to ask how you just find the right people to work with and whose projects you want to really help bring to life.
I think it's like in both companies, it's the exact same way. We fall in love with some of the work which people are doing. And often, like, I'm looking here at Johnny Kelly here sitting in front of me, who's like a world talent who happens to live in Portobello and is doing work on the international stage all the time. And when you've got people like that, you've got Brendan Canty over here, and people like that really excite and they make you, want to try and get things going. And, we've just made a short animation together, myself and Johnny, and it's playing in South by Southwest next week, which is really exciting. And I guess we have access to some of the best, whether they be local here or whether they be from further afield. People are keen to work and to want to be championed a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes to do that, you need a little bit of a bespoke team and right conditions to try and make that happen. I think that's the exact same thing for film. We've done our stints at short films, at drama, and it's taken us a while to kind of find that actually our original passion for making documentaries, that's actually been where we've ended up in Venom. And now we only make feature documentaries. And sometimes we get to look at an amazing project from an amazing director and it's a drama and we're saying, should we try and do it? But we're like, no, let's just stick to our guns. And yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a good example because we and Paula produced Christy for Brendan as
the short film. Yeah.
Yeah, the short film. And then I remember because we were just at the crossover point of whether we do drama or stick to documentary. And I think we had that conversation with you, Brendan, where we had to sacrifice Christy. And now look, it's just won at Berlin. So
brilliant.
We won't mention that.
Well, let's actually hear from the talent. How about that?
Yes.
Let's start off with Brendan Canty. Brendan, first of all, congratulations. You're just back from Berlin. And it's been, first of all, how's it been? It's been a great few days over there, hasn't it?
Yeah, a bit overwhelming.
Overwhelming.
Just very exciting.
Can you, while we have you here, can you talk a little bit about, Christy and, just tell us about this film for those of us who have not seen it yet?
Yeah, it's a drama film about a foster kid who gets kicked out of his foster home and has to go back and live with his brother temporarily until they find him a new home. And while he's there, he starts to find his place in the world. I guess it's kind of social realism with a lot of kind of first-time actors, a lot of them second-time now because they're in the short.
Yeah. Paula produced the film, as she said.
Yeah.
So, what was that experience like for you?
It was great. I remember at the time it was really busy in Antidote, so I found it quite a lot. But it was really good. It was great to work with Brendan. He's a similar approach to how he is in commercials and, always does, he mentioned about a lot of the cast in that film. They weren't actors or it was their first job. And, he does have a knack for finding talent in real people and kind of not going down the traditional actor route, and it really does work so well for Christy because that it's just so raw and it's so it's so real. So yeah, it was great. It was a long time ago now, 2019. So yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. So Brendan, congratulations once again. But yeah, so could you share your experience of working with Antidote? What was that like?
One of the big benefits from, and I think this is going to be echoed a lot across everybody, is the prep, the skills it gave me in being able to prep for the feature was massive, but also the experience it gave me in dealing with agency, dealing with client and all those meetings you have to do. I think we worked with the BBC Film and I think they were surprised at how comfortable I was in those spaces, especially getting close to the shoot just from the organization of things, but just in holding my nerve. I think they have a lot of maybe directors at those stages who get a bit rattled by stuff and I definitely put that down to the experience I have in commercials, and you're constantly you're constantly moving to project to project to project. So like you're just getting lots of experience in a short space of time.
It's two different types of filmmaking, basically.
Yeah.
Two different processes.
It is and it isn't. It's kind of like a feature you just got so much more time. But in commercials, it's kind of like the same process, but it's like condensed into like a very short space of time, which means you can kind of upskill very fast a lot of times as well. So like it kind of gives you a lot of experience very quickly.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And thank you for sharing that, Brendan. Johnny Kelly now. Johnny, we mentioned animation. Animation, of course, that's another great perspective to have. Yeah, from your perspective, because it kind of adds a unique dimension to what we're talking about. What was it like working with Antidote? What was the process like?
Andrew's amazingly organized and motivated and able to kind of whisper sweet nothings into agencies in ways that I could only dream of. So that's been... I've mainly worked... I used to live in London for about 15 years. So I'd moved back and I was looking for Irish representation. And Andrew had been in touch years and years ago, and we'd kind of on and off sort of stayed in touch with Antidote. So it was a new start for me, but they were very supportive and I've really enjoyed working with them. There was a good connection with Screen Ireland, which was helpful when we were applying for film funding for this short.
I think that's a good... our connection with the film side has often helped us in the commercial side, especially when it's for attracting directors and the conversations that we can have with directors. Because as someone said on panel one, like most commercial directors ultimately want to be featured directors. So I think having the crossover has helped us. I just want to explain one little anecdote. Sorry, because this is...
Not antidote, anecdote. Now.
Anecdote, yes. So
make sure.
This was the best, I think, and it got us kick-started in the commercial game, the best crossover that I recall between the two worlds. I just made the film His and Hers, and it did well and whatever, but some creative had seen the film and thought, oh, there's an opportunity here to do something similar in an ad form. And it was for Bernardo's. And they basically used the premise of how I created the film, like everybody talking about a character, someone very different, but by connecting them all, it sounded like they were talking about the same person. Anyway, I was very fortunate that they took a risk in asking me to direct it because I had obviously made this film. They didn't need to come looking for me. They could have easily gone somewhere else. And that was our first big commercial that we ever got the opportunity to make and kind of kickstarted our career. And it was that perfect synergy between film where a creative spots something in a long form that can be translated into the short form, still tell a story, all about story and character. And really it was the beginning. And in a way, I don't think we ever planned for us to be a film company and a commercials company, but maybe that's where I was trying to work out where it might have come from.
Just happened organically from there.
I think like the main purpose of today, to some degree, from our point of view, we were obviously delighted to mark the occasion. We've been around for a while. Hair's gone grey. But it is to renew that belief in the format of commercials to some degree, in the storytelling around it. I really feel like, there's two different types of advertising to when we first started to where we are now. There's what I call kind of transactional advertising, where it's like, I need to get that out and I need to tell that message. And to some degree, you may as well just have a red screen with text on it, and put it out there. And then there's more like crafted advertising. And that's a belief in the format. And like my kids, they watch TV and the ads come on and they're like, I have to force them to watch the ads, and I do. But like, if you give up on that belief that you can tell a little story in that time, then you have a problem. If the brand message has to be in the first 2 seconds and it has to be bright and all the things you hear about, you're kind of like, I was saying to Jason, who's going to be talking in the next panel, like for me, it's like Big Macs. You're going to McDonald's and you're getting a Big Mac again and again and again. And there's a question mark about whether advertising works. And I think the more Big Macs there are out there, the less it works. But it does work and it works really well. And I think like the power of being able to try and use the format and believe in it and, hope that people will actually be able to stay with 30 seconds and enjoy that process. Like, we need to encourage that more and more and more, because not only is it obviously good for clients and for brands and everything else, but as you've heard from the panel before, and you will hear hopefully in the panel ahead, what it does for our industry, for our filmmakers, for our community, for the crew, for everyone, like, that will vanish unless we're quite protective and we believe in that. And I think, like, for clients, like, it's so much more than transactional. And like, you're seeing internationally now, like, people are taking more and more of a shot at more originality and more extremes in what they're doing to try and kind of catch attention. And sometimes it doesn't work, and other times it pays off massively. So I think, like, just within our small sector of Ireland, we have in the past always punched above our weight. Like, we've always done really well, and we've attracted some of the best talent around to try and work here. I think we just need to continue to maintain that and believe in it, while budgets are getting tighter and challenges and turnarounds and all those things. They're kind of noise. Like, I think that ultimately we can still do it. We have the best team in the world to do it, and we should continue to foster that. And
there's the right talent to do it, but you also need to dare a little more, I guess.
Well, I think we all do.
Dare.
Same with film, but like, I think for a long time, commercials is like a dirty world, especially at a film festival. I think we want to break that a bit, because actually most directors I know who've done commercials and then they go and make a film, they can't wait to do a commercial again, and then when they're doing the commercial, they can't wait to do a film again. And then when they, so it's back and forth like a yo-yo. And I think that probably sums up the industry, is that, it is that constant back and forth. And they actually really do complement each other really well. But if you pull one from the other, you have a problem.
That's brilliant. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. But one thing that we kind of wanted to end this conversation. First of all, I actually do want to bring up that Ross Whitaker was going to be with us as well. Yeah. We should mention that he couldn't make it.
He fell off a bike on the way here.
I didn't want to say it, but there you go. Now it's on the open.
Did he?
Not on the way here.
On the way here.
Not on the way here. Regardless, I did want to say, though, that his film is premiering. The world premiere of his new film, Beat the Lotto, is tomorrow at 6:10.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about maybe working with him a little bit while we're at it? Because he's worked with both Venom and Antidote.
So like, he crosses over quite well between our stories between Venom and Antidote, because he's a documentary filmmaker. We worked together on the Katie Taylor documentary. I exec produced the Lotto film, which is going to play tomorrow. And we've worked on other films together. But he didn't really know anything about advertising, and gradually we kind of brought him in to that fold. And, at the time we were working with Rothko, who aren't here anymore, or they've adapted now to Troga 5. But they were looking for someone to come on board, a kind of a long form commercial branded project, and he was perfect for it. And we really enjoyed working with him on that, and on multiple other projects too. So he kind of found advertising that way too. And he's remained a kind of a close friend, and someone we love working with,
Excellent. I just want to check one thing. Do we have time for questions for this panel? We do. Yes, I wanted to make sure that we'd have maybe like a few minutes just to ask questions. Does anybody have any question about what we talked about, or maybe share insights about your own experience of working in film, working in advertising that you'd like to share? Now is your moment. Hello.
Hello. Oh, Jesus. Here we go. Normal volume, regular question. Cool. So I was wondering just about the overlap between documentary and advertising, spots where you're featuring real people and real stories. And I was just wondering, is the process any way significantly different when you're recruiting someone for, it's like, oh, we think your story is beautiful and deserves to be told for like artistic purposes. And then, oh, your story is going to sell a lot of butter.
Well, I thought that was maybe for me.
Just be brutally honest.
I've never been asked to sell butter, but I would if needs be. Oh, I did do Kerrygold?
You did a Kerrygold ad.
I thought you were going to say sausages. Okay. Okay. Oh, yes, I remember it now. Actually, that's a very good example of a crossover. So I was asked to make Kerrygold for the international market. That's why I don't remember it, because I never saw it actually on TV. But we had to find 3 farmers. And I'll probably get emotional about this story because it crosses over where, like, you know, you think this is not going to happen to you in commercials. But I had the opportunity to go and meet 3 dairy farmers. And I had to talk to them about their cows. And all 3 dairy farmers cried with me. And it was quite bizarre. And I think it was because I was a farmer's son. And so I really know farming. And each one of them had a moment with me. And it was really special because I never thought, because I'm like the gay son of a farmer who who went to the big city and was told I didn't know one end of a cow from the other. And here I am interviewing farmers and bonding with them and them understanding me and I understanding them. And it was actually a really beautiful moment. So yes, of course, there's issues around sometimes, but I'm never asked to make ads that aren't. There's a reason people are approaching me because they know my films and my work. So it's not really about selling. That was a story about farmers loving what they do, and the product was secondary down the line. So I think that's why I feel like I've got something to give to that world, to ensure that those type of stories feel authentic, feel real, coming from genuine space. Everybody, I presume, was paid because it was a commercial, so those farmers got some money, but that's great for them because I'm sure it went towards some piece of machinery that they were saving up for or something. So I felt it was all okay. And that's one of many, to be honest. I've never genuinely, hand on heart, had a bad experience in featuring real people in advertising campaigns.
Thank you
for sharing that, Ken.
Thank you.
And thanks for the question. Anybody else have any questions or insights they'd like to share?
Thank you. I think you told the story about your film, His and Her, bringing you a commercial work as a film that made you get a commercial work. Have you had any cases of the other way around? You made a commercial and then that inspired you to make maybe a drama or a feature and then went blowed up? Yeah.
It's a really good. No.
Is it possible if you think about
totally.
it?
I mean, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of you definitely hit themes. Like in commercials, of course, you hit big themes which resonate, and then they can often splinter off into a short film idea or into other. So, like anything, it's all about the generation of concepts. But I don't think I don't know any commercial.
Hasn't happened with you yet.
We've found talent. We've found talent that are working in the commercial space and brought them into Venom, into film, and tried to develop projects with them. So not specific projects. Having said that, again, just because you'll come up with ideas sometimes off the back of working on a commercial project because you come across a character or a story in that process. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes, I've used, word use is not right, but I've collaborated with characters that have, but they're basically become friends, and they're like, just want to help me out. So
Ken's got a lot of friends. Every ad we make, every film we make, he befriends them so much that you end up just with these phone calls coming to the office. Is Ken there? Could he have a chat?
And I'm normally the one that has to answer those.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ken.
Yeah, I would say Ken's got a pretty rare ability to talk to anyone and for them to feel quite comfortable talking back, especially on camera. So, that's been the flavor of a lot of the work you've done.
Can we share the anecdote about our first commercial that everybody that works in commercials here is probably aware, well, back in the day, you had to play a commercial 3 times to your client. And our client came to our garage. It was Godfather's Pizza. You may remember. It's kind of gone bust. Nothing to do with our ad. But we put the gentleman in the seat. He had kindly given us help. What's the word? I think he was feeling sorry for us because we hadn't much work going on. We put him in the position. We turned off the lights. And for some reason, we had to fiddle around with the machine. Finally played it 3 times and there was silence. And I was like, Andrew. And then I turned, he had fallen asleep. And it's 30 seconds long. And then he woke up and went, oh, I've had a very busy day. Okay, that's not great for our first commercial.
I don't think we have time for any more, do we? No, we don't have any.
We showed the little. It's
the trailer you're talking about. So
Yeah.
this is very important because this is what we're going to end with. And Sanatorium is the name of the film now. So that'll be premiering next month, I believe, in CPH Docs. It's a great documentary film festival, very prestigious documentary film festival. Before we see the trailer, because this is a preview trailer, nobody has seen it outside of, obviously, the people who have been allowed to see it up to now. Can we talk about this film a little bit? Just say a few words about it.
So, this is a special one for us in that we've kind of been working away, as like Emmett was saying earlier on, it takes a long time. But we've been doing this in the background a lot. And this was a film we shot in the Ukraine, in Odessa, directed by Gar O'Rourke. And we kind of had every challenge under the sun to try and make it, from finance being there, to going, to war, to, getting people over. And it was a film we started before the war because we were fascinated about this place, a sanatorium, which is it's a health retreat and a spa, and they've got doctors there, and it's full of incredibly quirky people and a world, and we were fascinated by it. And Gard made a short film in the Ukraine before, which did really well, and this was the kind of follow-on. And then, of course, the war broke out, and it left the film in a total chaos. We weren't sure if the sanatorium was going to continue or if it was, if the film was over. And to our surprise, it remained open during the war, and it became a whole new story in a way. It was the same story, still following a season at this place, but now with war going on in the background. And the people who came to it were travelers and people who are still looking for a break, and for all the same reasons that they would have gone there. But also then they were joined by people who were fighting, and army people, and people who were looking for a break as well. So it became what is a kind of a light, quirky story, but also has a real poignance. So we're going to show you the trailer. No one's actually seen it before. It's going to premiere in CPH Docs, as you said, next month. We're really proud of it. We got BBC Storyville on board, so they're behind the project. Screen Ireland, like with all our films, have been a massive supporter of us all the way through. And yeah, we're kind of excited to get it out into the world. So we have a little look, yeah.
Let's take a look, and thank you guys for sharing your insights. It's been a great conversation. Sanatorium. Thank you for joining this special episode of the Showcast, and for more conversations with top film professionals and creatives from all over the world, make sure to follow TFV Network wherever you get your podcasts from, or visit us anytime at filmverdictnetwork.com. Till the next time, from The Film Verdict, this is Matt Micucci signing off. See you soon.